what I like best about the Terry and Jesse show is that it revives my hope in men to be godly men.
It's a really good show because it's relatable to family life, daily life. It's encouraging. It's like cheerleading also for Catholics. But number one, the reason I like it because you guys aren't afraid to speak the truth.
You are both the most compassionate hosts I've ever heard. And as a Jewish convert, I am a much better informed Catholic. Thank you, Terry and Jesse.
I just think it's the best thing that we have here in L.A. It's awesome. I'm hooked.
Welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show. TJ stands for Truth and Justice. It also stands for Totally Jesus. This is High Energy Blue Collar Catholic Radio. We want to talk about money today. Now, money's not bad or good. Money's just a commodity. It's what you do with it. Now, St. Paul does say the love of money is the root of all evil. So there is that teaching in the Bible.
Absolutely.
The love of money is the root of all evil. In fact, that would be one of the 7 deadly sins, the sin of avarice. However, the Bible also says he who doesn't work should not eat. So the Bible obviously calls us to make money so that we can be responsible, reap some type of dignity and support our family. So here's what we want to talk about today. We know that Governor Brown, he's recently signed a minimum wage bill. He's going to be raising the baseline of minimum wage in California. It's going to go up through the next couple of years. It's going to be raised in the next 6 years. It'll be raised to $15 an hour. So here's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about, is that a good thing to raise the minimum wage, or is it not a good thing? We want to hear from you. Now, here's some of the stuff in the shadows that some people don't know about. The Local 1000, which is called the SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, which is probably the largest union in California, if not the United States. They actually wrote a couple of sizable checks to several assemblymen in California so that they can pass this minimum wage bill. So the Assembly Speaker, Anthony Rendon from Paramount, he was paid some money. Speaker Tony Atkins, Speaker Bob Ronta from Alameda, Jim Beal from San Jose, Kevin McCarty from Sacramento. They all received some money from the SEIU in as a result of voting or backing this bill that just passed. Now, we know that the SEIU, this is the dominant union money player in American politics. In California, they've given, back in 2012, during the federal election cycle, the SEIU gave $224,000 to super PACs, candidates, and parties. Let's see how this breaks down. The SEIU gave 99% of its money to the Democrat Party and 1% of its money to the Republicans. Okay? I'll say it again. I got this article right here. It's from the Associated Press. The SEIU, the most powerful union in the United States, in 2012 during their federal election cycle, they donated $224,000 to the Democrats, and 1% of that went to the Republicans. So here's the point that we're making. This union also gave $1 million in support of Governor Jerry Brown's tax measure. It seems to me as if us as citizens, our vote is being usurped by this very powerful union that seems to have the ability to buy votes. But what we want to talk about right now is the fact that really they've rammed this through by paying off certain politicians, and so now California's going to raise its minimum wage. So the question is this: do you think it's a good thing to raise the minimum wage? Is it a good thing for the economy? Is it a good thing for people in high school, kids in college, for people that are trying to get entry-level jobs? Is that a good thing, or is that a bad thing? I'll give you my take on it, and I'll just toss it over to Terry right now.
I'd also want to just add one more thought. This was going to go on the ballot in November, and basically Governor Brown stopped that and just signed it into action. So the people of California, like me, we don't get a chance to vote on that, the common guy. And I kind of get upset with that because I would rather take it to the voters, just like Prop 8 was another one where we voted as a California state to say women, that marriage is between a man and a woman, and then the state decided to say, no, we're going to change that of the will of the people. And I just find that interesting. Again, if you want to weigh in on that topic, because I think it's important, especially if I have people who are like small business people, I'd like you to call in. Big business, any business. Also, people who are trying to make ends meet right now and pay for their cost of their housing, their food, and all that. I'd like to hear, because I think this is what we try to do, is weed out the issues of the day. And that's what we're doing. And I also want to encourage you, have some good news, because I love giving good news. I just got this from 40 Days for Life, which is a great organization. Basically, you know, the number of abortion clinics are closing rapidly. This was from the Washington Post. PBS says abortion clinics are vanishing. Abortion clinics are closing at a record pace. That's from Bloomberg. Roe versus Wade abortion decision is at risk in 2016. Planned Parenthood had warns with The Guardian. The point of it I'm pointing out is that I'm so glad we as a people, especially concerned Christians, are bringing up the issue of life right now. And this is another issue we're bringing up, and that is social justice. I said yesterday, social justice begins in the womb. Yes, it continues on, but what is the benefit and the negative aspects of the $15 minimum wage? I'd like you to give us a call at 888-526-2151. That's 888-526-2151. Also, I'm giving away our Catholic Faith DVD. This is a remarkable DVD. It's powerful, presenting the truths about God and the mysteries of the Catholic faith by combining dramatic narration, orchestra music, and compelling scenes of contemporary Catholicism. And you're going to learn the commandments, the 4 marks of the Church, the sacraments. It teaches you about guardian angels, all in 58 minutes. That DVD is yours if you just pay the shipping. Call 877-526-2151. I'll repeat it, 877-526-2151.
Let's keep in prayer also. This report just came out from CBS Sacramento on their website. The David Deladin,
that's right.
It says here, abortion activist claims Planned Parenthood videos caused raid at his home. So this is in the news now. And basically what happened last night is David Deladin, he's the young gentleman, the young Catholic man who made the undercover videos at Planned Parenthood clinics. He put out in a social media post this morning that the California Department of Justice agents raided his home last night, and they basically seized all his video footage from his apartment along with his personal information. David Deladin posted this on Facebook, and his organization is called the Center for Medical Progress. He said that basically they're trying to implicate him in some type of illegal behavior. So I would just mention to you, keep him in your prayers. It looks like as if Kamala Harris, the Attorney General, has sent the federal law enforcement to go and raid his house and to continue to make his life miserable as a result of his incredible undercover work against Planned Parenthood.
Well said. We've got Matthew on line 1 in a minute. I just want to encourage you, if you have a question or a comment, even if it's not on the minimum wage, you can call us on apologetic questions at 888-526-2151. Before I go to Matthew, I just want to remind everybody that the Terry and Jesse Show are going on a 7-day round-trip California coastal cruise. It's coming up real quick, April 16th. They tell me that if you call, you can still come. And if you want to come, call Carmen at 805-526-6565. That's the number to call. Again, let's go to Matthew in Bakersfield. Matt, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're too blessed to be stressed, brother. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to tell you that I've listened to your show for a couple of months now, and I always enjoy it. You
Thanks.
fellas are entertaining.
Well, some people say that to us all. Yeah, I know. We're entertained. But you know what? We want to make it fun to learn about our Catholic faith, and you're right on. But what are your thoughts today? What's your take on the $15 an hour minimum wage issue?
I don't know. I mean, I can see both sides of it, but I think the primary issue is that if the business owner can't afford to pay it, he's either going to close shop or he's going to have to raise his prices. And if he raises his prices, then the consumer pays for it. Mm-hmm. And if he raises his price too much, then people aren't going to shop there, and he's going to end up going out of business anyway. I can't see that it's good to force a mandatory payment on an employer.
Yeah. Matthew, you sound like you have a common sense approach on this. And, you realize also the Social Security tax, because I'm an employer myself, and, once you raise there's only so much you can squeeze out of the small businessman. So I think you got a good point there. Jess, what are your thoughts?
Yep. There's an article that came up that just basically supports what the caller just said right now. The article is from charismanews.com. It says, the exodus of people moving away from California is becoming an avalanche. In this article that came out today, it's basically saying that the exodus out of California into other states is exactly because of the economy and the high tax rates. And this is not going to help things any because, again, who's going to suffer? The little guy, the small business owner is going to suffer because, even according to an economist by the name of David Henderson, he shows that minimum wage hikes, what it does, it makes it harder for unemployed people to find work, particularly young people.
It's true.
And it forces business owners to cut hours of lower skilled employees.
Yeah. Hey, hang on a second, Matthew. I want to ask you a question after the break. Can you wait for a minute, my friend? Because I got one more question. We're going to come to a quick break. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. We're giving away the Catholic Faith DVD that I think everyone should have in their home. It's a 1-hour DVD that will help them. Call 877-526-215. When we come back to Matthew, we'll take his call. Don't turn that dial.
This is the Terry and Jesse Show. Truth and justice, totally Jesus. Blue Collar Catholic Radio. We're talking about the $15 minimum wage hike that's going to take effect within the next couple of years. It's been signed by Governor Brown. And the question that we're asking, do you think this is going to be good for California? Do you think it's going to be good for the economy? Do you think it's going to be good for young people, people that are just trying to get their foot into the labor market? And I say this because there's an article that was put out this morning. It says the exodus of people moving away from California is becoming an avalanche. And the article basically says that the reason so many people are moving away, it says this: California has a 13.3% income tax, and that's in addition to a whole host of other ways that the government has come up with to extract as much money out of the population as possible. So as a result of the high taxes, people are fleeing the state, and I don't think this is going to help any. So let's go back to our caller. Do you believe that, Matt, do you believe that this is going to cause maybe the small businessmen to shut down and to do business elsewhere in another state? Or do you think that people that maybe have the ability are going to start automating their business like they're doing in many places, and they're starting to use robots to replace people? Do you think that's the trend of California?
I think both of them are exactly right. People are going to move, but business owners are going to move. Where it's easier to do business, it's cheaper for them to do business. So they're not getting mandatory fees and regulations put upon them by the government, the state government. And I think the other thing you mentioned is also true. I mean, yeah, people are going to go to automation. I think that's just the trend. I mean, it's efficiency. That's what America's always been about, since the turn of the century. It's just efficiency, making things better, making things, cheaper, more affordable, so we can get more stuff at a lower price. But I mean, I don't think you'll ever eliminate the human equation from services like the SEIU or whoever it is might be. I mean, I think you're always going to have the human equation, but yeah, things will certainly get more automated.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you listening to Immaculate Heart Radio, and I appreciate your comments. I thank you for waiting over the line for the break, and thanks for your comments. They were very illuminating.
Again, I enjoy your guys' show, and tell all your viewers to don't forget to donate to your local SPCA.
All right, brother. God love you.
Thanks, guys.
You got it, man. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. Matthew was just on talking about the $15 minimum wage. Is that good or bad for the folks? The good side, the bad side. I want to also throw one more element in, my friends, and that is, we had a a war on poverty back in 1964. We said that it was Lyndon B. Johnson that we're going to end poverty. And the government spent millions and millions of dollars trying to help fight poverty. And I'd like to ask you, because the article I'm reading says it actually had a reverse effect. And Jesse, we've read that article, and I just want to ask people, do you think the approach that the government throwing money out, giving money away for free, has helped individuals get out of poverty? I'm going to give you my take, but if you want to join in, call us at 888-526-2151. Jesse, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the war on poverty was instituted, back in the 60s by LBJ.
That's right.
And here's basically what happened. Today we have 126 separate anti-poverty programs. 126, okay? So it's not like we're not spending enough money. And the cost of these programs to provide benefits either directly or indirectly the cost was back in 2013. Get this number, okay? Put on your seatbelt. The cost was $680 billion in 2013.
Wow.
Okay? Now, if you add state and local government spending on poverty programs, that's another $280 billion. So the war on poverty, we've spent a total since 1965, $1 trillion, excuse me, that's for 1 year. We spent $1 trillion every year on the war against poverty. And yet, what do we find right now? Only 2.5% of Americans working full-time by government standards are considered poor. So then, how do we get out of poverty? We go to work. That's what we do. We should encourage people to get on the road and to go to work. That's how you get out of poverty. It's not that difficult.
Well, the governor of Maine recently implemented a work program that demonstrated what you just said, Jess. You've got the article in front of you. Why don't you tell our listeners what happened in Maine?
Yeah, in Maine, this is what happens when you use common sense, legislation. The Republican governor, his name's Paul LePage. He started a welfare to work program, and he basically instituted work requirements in the state of Maine in order to receive food stamps for able-bodied adults without children or other dependents. Guess what happened? He said you had to work. So as a result of that, the number of welfare recipients in the state of Maine fell by 80% when he required able-bodied adults without children or other dependents. They had to go to work to get welfare. The welfare rolls dropped by 80%.
My point, Jesse, in asking you that, and I'd like to have our listeners answer that question. Maybe you've been on assistance and you think it was good for a time, but it seems that we're having people become dependent for generation after generation on the government. I think the dignity of the individual is affected. Ronald Reagan also did a similar thing in the 1980s with work and welfare, and it helped also getting people off welfare. I believe, personally, what we say, I'd rather teach a man how to fish than give him a fish and feed him for a day. Feed him for life by teaching him of trade. And I think this is the same situation with our welfare cases. We're giving people a false illusion that welfare check is theirs. They earned it. And I'm just saying, this is my take. I want the dignity of the human person. Man was made to work. Pope John Paul II wrote a beautiful letter on the work, on the beauty of work for man. And I would encourage all people who are dealing with unemployment right now, I pray for them to get jobs, because that's where your real value is going to come, is you're going to appreciate paying for your house or your car payment. You're making the money, and it gives you that dignity. I'm going to ask a question, and then tell me, everybody, I'm all wet. The question is this. How did you feel the first time you got your first paycheck? Did you feel like, wow, I earned that? You're pretty proud of that. The other question is, how do you, and this is a good, how do you feel when someone else provides for your family as a father and decides to give food or shelter when you're not able to do that? But if you could, if you had the job, doesn't that make you feel like, wow, I got to get out there and I can do that. I'm hoping that's what you would say, because what happens is if everybody gives something to you, you don't value that. That's my take. It's like it becomes an entitlement that I deserve. Now, somebody's going to get mad at me, but that's okay. Call me at 888-526-2151. Tell me where I'm wrong in that reasoning. 888-526-2151, because I love to give people jobs, and then I see their dignity go way up. That's my take. How about you, Jess?
I believe, as Catholics, obviously Terry and myself, we believe that helping the poor is a noble cause.
Absolutely.
But it can also be a fool's errand. Okay, listen to what I'm saying. Helping the poor is a noble cause, but it can also be a fool's errand. What do I mean by that? There are two types of poor in our country. You have what's called the deserving poor, and you have undeserving poor. According to the Holy Bible, James 1:27, it gives us who are the deserving poor. It tells us the deserving poor are widows and orphans. We're obligated to help widows and orphans as a country, as a society, as a church. However, you have undeserving poor. And these are people that through their own free will, through their own bad choices, by their own full knowledge and deliberate consent of the will, they don't want to work. And basically, they want to what's called game the system. They know that it's not that difficult to use a fake ID and a fake social security number to get free welfare, because they just suffer from the sin of sloth, which is one of the 7 deadly sins that we're always fighting against as a result of our fallen nature called concupiscence. We have to fight against sloth. It's not easy. It's something that we have to muster that strength every single day. Now, I'm going to give you 3 points on how to avoid being poor, especially for young people. Okay? Young people, listen up. Okay? Listen up for 30 seconds. This is very important. This will help you for the rest of your life. There's a UCLA political science professor. His name's James Wilson, and he basically wrote a quick article about how not to be poor, how to avoid poverty. He said you got to do these 3 things. Number 1, finish high school. Number 2, don't become a parent at least until the age of 20. Number 3, get married before having a child. Do this and you will not be poor. This comes from UCLA political science professor James Wilson. 3 things not to be poor. Number 1, finish high school. Number 2, don't become a parent at least until the age of 20. Number 3, get married before having a child. Do this and you will not be poor.
Makes sense to me, folks. You're listening to the Terry and Jesse Show. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get Judy in Northern California. Today's topic, $15 an hour minimum wage for California, and also how to help the poor in a very good way and not to enable them to continue to be poor. That's my point, is we want to teach people how to fish and feed them for life. We're giving away our Catholic Faith DVD. I got to tell you, folks, this is my favorite DVD. It took us 10 years to build. Covers all the aspects of the teachings of Christ on the Catechism. It uses basically beautiful sacred art. You can get the $20 DVD for free. You just pay the shipping and the handling by calling 877-526-2151 or go to our website, catholicrc.org. And if you want to join in on the conversation, especially if you don't agree with me or Jesse, call us at 888-526-2151. We love to have a dialogue with our listeners. 888-526-2151. When we come back, we'll get Judy, and others will come right after that. Don't turn that dial. Thanks for your donations. Let's have it happen again and again and again. God love you.
We're back. This is the Terry and Jesse Show. TJ, Truth and Justice, Totally Jesus. Blue Collar Catholic Radio. We're talking about the minimum wage issue. And I'll tell you, even Governor Brown, he's reticent about what he did. This article put out by the Associated Press, it says this about Governor Brown. He had cognitive dissonance signing this bill. Oh, yeah. It says, before switching sides and now saying that he will sign the $15 minimum wage, Governor Jerry Brown in January expressed concerns that the state's new nation leading $10 per hour minimum wage is enough for now, because it will already cost the state budget an extra $250 million a year in California. Governor Brown pointed to a California Department of Finance economic analysis warning that a $15 an hour minimum wage would devastate the state California budget by adding an additional $4 billion per year in costs by 2021. So Governor Brown's biggest concern is that the minimum wage will actually hurt poor people that it's supposedly intended to help. Governor Brown said this: raising the minimum wage too much and you put a lot of poor people out of work. That's what Governor Brown told the Sacramento Bee. He says there won't be a lot of jobs. It's a matter of balance. And the paper says big service businesses like chain restaurants, hotels, and retailers can probably automate away many jobs that will be subject to a $15 minimum wage. But the wage spike is an existential threat to tens of thousands of small businesses that do not have the profits or expertise to automate away higher labor costs.
Before we go to Judy, I want to give one little fact about poverty. It's a fact. The number one cause for poverty in America is divorce, the breakup of the family. So I just want to point that out because we're talking about encouraging people to get jobs. Well, strong families, strong culture. That's what St. John Paul II said. Judy, you've been so patient. You're on. You waited for us. You're on with Jesse and Terry. Go ahead, Judy.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
You bet.
I'm just looking at this from a different perspective,
Good.
more
Good.
against state and federal government, if you will.
Yeah.
And that is that as an employer myself who signs paychecks for people, and myself, when I get a pay raise, what I look at is what additional money through taxes, payroll deductions the state and the federal government get.
Good point.
So when I look at that raise, and I look at the raise of somebody who goes from $12 to $15 or $10 to $15 an hour, I also have to look at what is the real margin of dollars that person takes home. And if they take home more money, then at the end of the year, if you're a certain threshold, you have to pay your income taxes. Certain people don't have to because they're under a certain margin. But I often wonder if the state and federal government mandate these types of salary benchmarks so that they, in turn, also can get more money for the state or the federal, which, as you were just saying, sometimes backfires because you start hurting the smaller businesses. But I'm driving a car, so I can't put a pencil to all the numbers, but you really have to look at if that, once taxes are all deducted, does the $1 or $2 or $3 more that person makes in their salary justify the real increase they're getting? They're not really going to get $5 if they go from 10 to 5. They're not going to get $2 if they go from 13 to 15.
That's right.
Or $6 if they go from 9 to 15. So I'm looking at it more cynically. What is the government really trying to achieve when they mandate and make these laws? Is it really for the individual, which I don't believe they really care that much about, or is it more self-gratifying? And that's what I wanted to put out there.
Well, thank you, Judy. I'm going to give you our PhD in Common Sense Award today because I also look at the taxes that come in from Social Security increase and all the others that when this comes into effect, it's not just the wage going to the individual. You got all these other fees that when you're an employer and you do pay the payroll, you see all that. And I agree with you. I think you're onto something, but that's my take. Jess, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I believe that the person that benefits more than anything else, I believe, is the government with all the hidden taxes and fees that they take out from a payroll check. And so in actual dollars and cents, the person doesn't really see a lot of difference in his net pay every month.
Judy, you call any time. I love you. You've got a good analytical mind. I can hear it when you're presenting that. So thanks so much for calling the Terry and Jesse Show.
Thank you. I appreciate your show. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you too, Judy. God love you.
Listening to the Terry and Jesse Show, we're talking about the minimum wage issue, and I'll tell you, the minimum wage, raising the minimum wage, we want to ask you if it helps people, yes or no. Now, welfare benefits are frequently so generous in our country that it discourages people from working.
Yep.
That's what happens. Our welfare benefits are so generous that it often discourages people from working. So what we've created, probably with the best of intentions, is what economists call a perverse incentive. In this case, it works against working. And I'm not suggesting that poor people are lazy. That's not what I'm saying, okay? What I'm saying that there was a recent Cato Institute study where they looked at a typical family on welfare receiving benefits compared to the recipient if he earned wages. To what would it take to maintain the same income? So this Cato study says it looked at a typical welfare family with 2 children under the age of 5, and it assumed that this family receives the 7 most common welfare programs. And what they ended up finding out in this hypothetical example is that the family receiving benefits from WIC, and school breakfasts and free school lunches and all that, it found that in Mississippi, you would get $16,984 a year in free welfare. And in Hawaii, which obviously the cost of living is higher, a family on welfare, parents on welfare with 2 kids under 5, they would be getting about $50,000 a year on welfare. So it varies from state to state. But what the study basically says, that in 13 states in this country, a mother on welfare with 2 children would receive more in benefits than by working $15 per hour at a job. And in 8 states in the U.S., a mother with 2 kids would get more in welfare benefits than by working at a $25 an hour job. So what have we done with welfare? We've basically destroyed people's incentive to work because the welfare benefits in this country are so generous.
Jesse, what you just did is you demonstrated the numbers. These are the facts. This is not made up. These are the facts. I'm convinced that we're hurting individual people for their dignity of going to work. Because when you give a person incentive to stay at home and collect a check, I believe that hurts the person. I think the Bible backs that up too, when if you don't work, you don't eat. St. Paul said that. We're going to go to Gus right after the break. Gus, hang on a minute. We'll take your call after the break at the Terry and Jesse Show. If you want to join in on the conversation, just call us at 888-526-2151. We're giving away a DVD, our Catholic Faith DVD, beautiful 1-hour DVD that teaches all the aspects of the faith. I would encourage you to show it to your kids. Anyone, you'll learn a lot on the faith. Call 877-526-2151. I also want to give a teaser. When we come back, I want to give some numbers that show some incredible numbers of how many people are actually working versus not working, and what percentage of the population is getting these checks. And here's a big one, everybody. I want to know the top 10%. How much are they paying in taxes? What percentage of the bill of all of us? I think you're going to be shocked when you hear these numbers. I was shocked. But again, these are numbers that don't come out too often. What I'm trying to convey is I believe as a Christian, we have to have a dignified workplace for people to earn a living so that they have a dignity to do that work. And also they have to have a wage that obviously is going to give them the support where they don't need to go to Uncle Sam for welfare. I believe that hurts the family, doesn't help it. That's my take. If you have an opinion on it, call us at 888-526-2151.
Let me give you another comment from David Henderson. He's the editor of the Concise Encyclopedia of Economics. He's an economist. He says this: it's true that the government can force business owners to pay its minimum wage workers more per hour, but the government can't force these business owners to pay them more per week. So according to the LA Times, after Connecticut raised its minimum wage to $10.10 an hour, a 20-year-old woman who worked at a donut shop in Hartford, Connecticut, was soon disappointed when her hours were cut from 35 to 27 hours per week. This is what employers are doing all over the country as they raise the minimum wage. They're reducing the hours so they're not paying the person more per week. You're getting the same amount of money a week. You're expected to do the same amount of work in less hours. So let me just summarize this. Dr. Henderson says raising the minimum wage makes it harder for young people and inexperienced workers to get entry-level jobs, to get on that crucial first rung of the employment ladder. And many of those who do benefit from a wage increase will likely find those benefits undone because they're going to cut their hours at work. They're going to have fewer hours. They're going to be expected to work harder per hour. They're going to get less training. And guess who also says this is a bad idea? None other than the liberal New York Times. They wrote a piece back in 1987 saying this is a bad idea.
We're going to take a quick break, but I'd love to have your comments. What a balance we're talking about. You know, work, how important work is, and especially as Christians, we value work. And as a matter of fact, it says that we will go by the sweat of our brow. That was from the Old Testament in Genesis. I want to ask you, our listener, if you agree, disagree, or your comments, call us at 888-526-2151. If you want to get that DVD on our Catholic faith, show it with your friends and relatives. This is how we spread the faith, folks. Call 877-526-2151 to get your DVD on our Catholic faith. 877-526-2151. We'll go to Gus right after this thing. God love you.
This is the Terry and Jesse Show. TJ, Truth and Justice, Totally Jesus, Blue Collar Catholic Radio. We're talking about the $15 minimum wage here in California. There's an incredible article. I would recommend that you Google this. It's put out by Forbes, Forbes.com. It says, California unions demand $15 an hour minimum wage. It will destroy a third of the state. I recommend you read that article, everybody that's listening to me. California unions demand $15 an hour minimum wage. It will destroy a third of the state. You know, really, by the government raising a pay raise, the government is giving itself a pay raise. That's what they're really doing, okay? A huge raise through taxes because it's going to collect the money on business and payroll taxes. Now, is working a good thing? Obviously, it's a good thing. Terry just quoted to you Genesis 3:19. The Bible says very clearly, in the sweat of your face you shall eat the bread till you return to the ground, for out of dust you were taken, and to dust you shall return. So the Bible calls us to work with the sweat of our brow. And in fact, the Bible even says in 2 Thessalonians 3:10, it says, for whoever does not work should not eat. So the Bible's very clear. We want to hear from you, your take on the minimum wage issue here in California. Is it a good idea or a bad idea? We got to go to line number 2. Gus, go ahead.
I just want to say that list you gave of the 3 things young people should do to not become poor, I thought that was excellent. For those listeners that are don't usually listen, or maybe they're new, they're young people, if them or maybe I could speak to them directly. If you or someone you know is pregnant, or you made some decisions that things you shouldn't have done prior to being married, and you're pregnant, have that baby even if you're under 20.
Absolutely.
Because if you do that to honor God, to honor life, God will bless you no matter what predicament you find yourself in. God will bless your act because you're choosing life, which God is the author of life.
Absolutely, so Gus. Thank you, Gus. There's so many couples that can't have children that will adopt that baby. Good point, Gus. Thanks for your call. We've got so many calls. Let's go out to New Mexico. Anonymous, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Hi, you guys. I love your show.
Well, thank you.
You give such valuable information, and I know where it's coming from. And so, amen to that.
Amen.
I want to tell you though, from personal experiences, I've had a acquaintance of mine making a decent $40,000 a year job.
Yeah.
And she quit that job so she could get benefits. And I don't know if she's even working part-time or not, but I know she quit the job because she was making too much money. Now listen to this. Mm-hmm. At $15 an hour, they're making almost that same amount of money if they work 40 hours.
Right, so why work? Yeah, I got it.
A lot of people will not even take that job because they would rather make the benefits.
I got it. That makes sense. I mean, I can see that happening, Anonymous.
Yep. It's very frightening. Yep. There's no incentive to improve yourself at all.
And that's not good.
Much.
Thank you for your call.
No, God wants us to use our talents.
Absolutely. You bet.
You know what? There's a senator. He's a black senator by the name of Albert Guillory. And here's what he said about welfare. I mean, this is a powerful statement. He's a black senator. He said this, okay? He says, programs such as welfare, food stamps, now he's talking to the blacks, to a black constituency. He says, these programs aren't designed to lift black Americans out of poverty. They're always intended as a mechanism for politicians to control the black community. I would say that in general, what Senator Albert Guillory said, Louisiana State Senator, he says welfare is used to control the black population. I would extrapolate that, and I would say that welfare is used to control the population at large. This is what we would call socialism.
I'm going to go another step further. I'm going to point out that men are leaving their wives and family because the government's going to cover what they should be doing. And that's encouraging men to go have what I would call immoral lifestyles. That's what that's doing. I'm going to encourage men to man up and take care of mama and the kids and not let Uncle Sam do that. Okay, I know that was strong language, but guess what? It's the truth. Man up. I'm sorry, man, but I put a lot of blame on the men, not the women, Jesse. That's my take. Vince in Los Angeles, welcome to the Terry and Jesse Show.
Hello.
Hey, Vince. Good to hear from you. What's on your mind? Go ahead, Vince.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead, brother. We're all ears.
Okay. First thing I wanted to tell you is, number one, I agree with everything you're saying, so I don't want you to take my comment as being
okay. Oh, darn.
Off.
I wanted someone to disagree.
I'm a union electrician retired.
Okay.
I was 9 years, Local 11 for Los Angeles. I got hurt on the job.
Yeah.
And I found out that it was a hereditary issue. Long story short, though, is I had to go on the welfare system for a little while to get myself together because I wasn't getting any disability money. I wasn't getting any workers' comp. Now, I come from a very strong Irish Catholic family. We're workaholics. I did not want to do anything. It didn't want anything to do with the welfare.
Yeah.
But what I will say is when I had to do it, they didn't want me to own a car. They didn't want me to have a bank account. So I had $1,800, $2,000 in the bank. They wanted me to have under $500 in the bank. There are so many stipulations that they put on you when you get on this stuff, and you're exactly right. It's designed to keep you down. It's designed to keep you from ever being able to have the confidence to provide for yourself, because what happens is you get so emphatic about just trying to comply with the system so you don't lose your benefits, because they're in essence how you're getting your money at that point, that you get scared to have a job working. Oh my God, are they going to take my benefits away if I do this? Are they going to take my benefits away if I do that? And the only thing you really can do is you got to cut yourself from it completely. You got to go to your family. What it is all this welfare stuff. It breaks up families. Before welfare, the church and families were helping people when they were down, and the government completely subverted all that when they put the welfare system in. And there are so many things that people don't realize. And then these young kids today, I know I'm running off, but these young kids today, they have no concept of how to save. They have no concept of saving for a rainy day because they've never had to live through any really trying times. Our parents and our grandparents, when they came over if you're coming from Europe, you came from some serious socialist problems. And so that's why they're afraid of communism. They're afraid of socialism because they know firsthand what the problems of it are. But these young kids have been brainwashed into thinking it's some kind of a kumbaya society. And that's just completely wrong. They want instant gratification. They want everything now. They don't want to wait for anything. And that includes saving. And that is a large part of why we're in the problems that we are in society today. It has nothing to do with a lot of the things that they tell people it is.
Vince, I only have one comment. Amen, brother.
And thank you, guys. I love your show. I listen to it as much as I can. You guys are awesome.
All right, thanks, Vince. We got to have fun doing this, you know?
Thank you.
Yes. My only comment to that excellent monologue is going back to what I said, and we agree, is that Lyndon Johnson's war on poverty has had little impact on poverty. Okay, as a matter of fact, with the $7 trillion that have been spent, here's the number. Wow. Okay, is this microphone on? Since 1965, $7 trillion have been spent on poverty programs. And guess what? Right now, we have more people that are homeless. Right now, we have more people on welfare. Right now, we have more people unemployed. What welfare does, it puts people under political economic control to the government. And what it does, it puts us in the economic plantation. Yes, I said that word.
Yep.
It puts us in the political economic plantation of big brother government. And that's why this is not a good thing for us. As Catholic Christians, we go back to what St. Paul says. Here it is. Very important. We have to establish a work ethic. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. He says, if anyone will not work, let him not eat. St. Paul also says in 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8, he also says this, if anyone does not provide for his family, especially for his relatives, he has disowned the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. What we have done as a result of our laziness, sloth, I'm not talking about people that are disabled. Don't get me wrong. People that are born with physical handicaps, people coming back from war, people that have been injured at work, fallen off a 3-story scaffold and broke their back. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the young person from 18 to 35 who's as strong as a stallion, and he just chooses to sit around all day and to listen to black gangster rap music on his big plasma TV with his pants hanging halfway down, showing his equator, and basically just watching MTV and VH1 videos all day and gaming the system by having 5 different IDs under different names and 5 different social security cards. Is that happening? Absolutely. I know agents that work for a Department of Social Services. They said that corruption is so common, so replete, they don't have enough agents to investigate each and every case. That's where we're at right now.
Wow. Why don't you really tell us what you think? Wow, Jesse. This show was so informative. I learned something. I hope you did too, our listeners. We're one big family trying to get to heaven. And I want to encourage you to help you get to heaven. Get that DVD, Our Catholic Faith, that teaches you all the fundamentals of the faith. It's a sacred video. I think it would help the family tremendously to know their faith well. It's a $20 DVD. I'm giving it away. You just pay the shipping. Call 877-526-2151. And I want to thank those who have given additional donations to the Terry and Jesse Show. We're trying to get some new equipment in here. If you notice, we're not breaking off as much in the past. Thank you for your donations. We still need more. Call us at 877-526-2151. They are tax deductible. And if you want to chat after the show, I'm here for you. Call 877-526-2151. May God richly bless you and your family.